Okay. Good evening. We're getting ready to start our meeting. If you have a request to speak, please submit it now. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We want to... No. Mrs. Richards, may I have the roll call, please?
Yes. President Anderson, let the record show that 3 board members are present.
Thank you. I now motion to convene an executive session pursuant ARS 38-431.03A1 regarding discussion and consideration of possible contract extension.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. We'll be back here in the room after our executive session. Okay, we will now reconvene in open session. Next, please join me in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, I motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0. Okay, Mrs. Richards, what do you have for today for Higley Adventures, Points of Pride, and the upcoming events?
All right, thank you, President Anderson, members of the board. Tonight, in your next episode of Higley Adventures, we want to pause and take a moment to thank all of our teachers. If you're a teacher out there, raise your hand. We're so very grateful for each of you and all of your colleagues. Amazing things are done in Higley because of you. We had our Fine Arts Festival, and we want to thank the artists, the performers, the vendors, the volunteers, attendees, and all that contributed to the coordination and success of this year's Fine Arts Festival. This was recently held at Williamsfield High School, and I think one of the most popular things is the shirt, right, Mr. Lotzenheiser?
Absolutely, Ms. Richards.
Can you elaborate on some of your leaders that made that possible?
Yes, and I would like to thank, there's a whole group that puts this event together. We start planning it in August to be done in April. And there's some people that have really stood out that I'd like to give recognition to. First, any of our art and fine arts teachers who have the kids prepare and be a part of that. We appreciate their efforts and energies. We'd like to thank Pam Simmons and Shayna La Sorenza, deans at the high schools. They help coordinate our volunteers. And so if you were there on that day, you saw a lot of high school kids, junior ROTC kids as well, helping out and supporting. I'd like to thank Community Ed and Kim Ohanian for helping and support throughout this. I'd like to thank Angie Walker, who stepped up and helped with one of our booths and got a whole bunch of rocks, and they got to sit in their car for a while. So thank you, Angie, for that. I'd like to thank McKenna Pugnetti, our admin assistant, as she helps organize the event. But there's two groups of people I think that really go above and beyond in terms of organizing this. First is our PR team. There's a lot that goes into the background and helping support, not only get everything ready for it. McKenna designed the wonderful shirt this year that was very popular and that we had ended up selling at the event. But Alexis Luz, McKenna, Mark, thank you so much for all of your work on this. And then over the past 4 years, I've helped with this event. 3 people have really stood out and continue to be leaders. So Katie Atkins, John Williard, and Ashley Walden do such an outstanding job leading the art part of the Fine Arts Festival. And they don't get enough recognition, but they're wonderful. And they volunteer their time. All of this stuff happens after school, all of the organization. So thank you to everybody who helped prepare the Fine Arts Festival. They do a great job.
And thank you, Mr. Lotzenheiser, for your leadership, along with Ms. Heidi Lindsay that put it all together. All right.
Ms. Richards, can I ask a quick question? Mr. Lotzenheiser, are there still shirts for purchase, or did you sell out?
I'm sure if there's people who still want shirts, we can find a way to make that happen.
All right. We just celebrated our Teachers of the Year. This was on April 25th. Awards were given to all of our dedicated educators for their incredible teaching practices and the impact they have on our students. This year, HUSD started a new tradition by honoring one District Teacher of the Year from elementary and one from secondary. So we're excited for that addition. This year's Elementary Teacher of the Year is from Santan Elementary, teacher Adrian Raleigh, and our Secondary Teacher of the Year is Higley High School's David Nettle. This slide celebrates every Teacher of the Year, and I've said this before, but interviewing these individuals was an incredible opportunity for district leadership to hear and see and witness excellence. It was a really difficult choice because they all should have won. This is Tyler Bubella. He's received his appointment to the U.S. Naval Academy. We are so very proud of him and wanted to share it with the community. He will also be recognized by the Air Force Junior ROTC as their Senior Cadet of the Year. Tyler is Colonel Vaughn's first cadet to go to a U.S. military academy. So Colonel Vaughn's going to be bragging for a long time about this, as he should. And we're forever grateful for Colonel Vaughn's leadership, support, and guidance. Tyler, I don't believe is here. I do believe there are individuals here with Mr. David Nettle. Is that correct? I can't see. There's too many people in the room. Higley High School's TV broadcasting students attended the Journalism Education Association National Convention in Kansas City, Missouri from April 4th through the 6th, where they earned superior, excellent, and honorable mention for their work. Congratulations to all of these students, and a special thank you to Mr. David Nettle, our Secondary Teacher of the Year. Great job, guys. You want to take a picture? I need to. Yes, you have to take a picture. You know that, right? So, and the governing board, you want to stand up tall, governing board? All right. This probably isn't going to work. This side. This side. They're too spread out. We have amazing kids in the school district, and it just keeps going. So, Mr. Lotzenheiser, take this slide.
So it's with great pride that we want to talk about our state champion Winter Guard winners from Cooley and Williamsfield High School today. Under the direction of Pam Edgar, Beth Carlson, Bob Edgar, and Jenny Huddle, we had, I think, 5 different state championships between the two schools, and I'm going to have Mr. Edgar talk about them for a little bit today. Thank you.
Very little bit. I know you guys have a long night tonight, so real quick, we're going to get this over to Beth, one of our color guard instructors. Super proud of the students' achievements this year. two groups competing in different levels. Both of those levels, they've won the state championship in. So I'm going to let Beth talk about that a little bit more here.
Hey there. So we had our Cooley Cougar Color Guard Purple. That is a mouthful, by the way. They did great. They're composed of 7th and 8th graders, and they took first out of 9 groups this year. Their division has really expanded, and I believe this is their 4th year in a row winning that division, and they had an undefeated season, and we were very, very proud of them. So. The next group over here is our Cooley Blackguard. They are in the highest division, and there is not another junior high group that competes at the level they do, and they are very successful every year, and they set a very high standard of what junior high should be in the state of Arizona as far as color guard goes. We are missing quite a few members from both teams, by the way. There happens to be a dance showcase going on at the same time for Cooley that starts in about 5 minutes, so a lot of them had to take off for that. But we are very proud of them. This group of kids shows up at 7:30, 7:45 every morning before school to practice, and they are very dedicated. I see flag bags going home on the bus, and they are a great group of kids. And then I can't forget about Corinne Potts here. She is one of my staff members that works with me every morning. So thank you.
Picture time? No. Makes me look really tough.
Next up, we have our Cooley Percussion Ensemble, which is composed of our 8th graders, our 8th grade percussion ensemble class. These kids are amazing. They perform at a very high level for middle school students, compete on the A sheet, which is a high school level sheet. So super proud of their achievements, every one of them, and look forward to having them up at the high school next year. So this is the Cooley Percussion Ensemble State Champions. We need to close down. You got it up? Okay. Good match. Next up, we move on to the Williams Field ensembles. Actually, this is a co-ensemble. It has students, 8th grade students from Cooley Middle School, as well as high school students. It's our WINS group. Long line here. While they're coming in, I need to give in a little nice plug here for Miss Huddle. Not only did they win the state championship in the WINS, but she just received a Superior with Distinction rating in the concert ensemble state festival as well. So kudos to Miss Huddle.
So a little bit about the season. This group here, I know Ms. Reiger just said that this consists of 8th grade through 12th graders. Super proud of their hard work. They were actually undefeated all season, and they actually were state champions by 5 points. So they totally swept the board. They did awesome, and I'm very proud of their hard work. And while I have a second, I want to give a little plug, shout out to Dr. Danny Barsetti-Nerland. He just got his doctorate this week at ASU.
All right, this is our high school percussion ensemble, Scholastic A champions. We're missing quite a few students as well, but super proud of all of the students that are involved in this program. It's so nice having the vertical piece where they come in and start receiving percussion instruction in 7th grade and go all the way through high school. We're very, very fortunate in our district to have ears listening to what we ask for and feel supported for the decisions that are made. So not only are they hearing it, but we're taking actions to support the arts, and we're very grateful for that, and that doesn't happen everywhere. So very fortunate. Thank you to our district. Percussion ensemble state champions. Thank you.
We have a lot to brag about, so we'll just keep going. Okay. All right. The Higley Leadership Academy hit the ground running this year, thanks to the leadership of Mr. James Walker over there. Members of this group developed their leadership skills by working with mentors, attending various professional development sessions, as well as volunteered their time on various projects throughout the year. You're going to learn more about this group later in Mr. Walker's presentation. Do you want, at some point, are you going to embarrass them all and make them all stand up, or? Bring them all up and embarrass them out. Let's do it. Thank you. What an amazing group. Thank you, Mr. Walker, for your leadership. And that concludes Higley Adventures. Next, we move on to Points of Pride. Thank you, everyone, for waiting and your patience this evening. Wait for Mark to. First, we have Bridges Bobcats. I know that we have Principal Bickle here and Vice Principal, Assistant Principal, Mr. Todd Berg. No, I'd love for you to. Thank you. I would love for you to use that. Is it on?
Good evening, President Anderson, members of the board, cabinet. Thank you for allowing us the chance to recognize our best and brightest. At this point, I would like to invite Tricia Jacobs up to the front with me. Although Tricia Jacobs is new to our campus this year as our school psychologist, she has made an incredible, widespread impact on our entire school and community. Tricia is exceptionally knowledgeable, proactive, systematic, collegial, and demonstrates a growth mindset day in and day out. Tricia has built strong relationships with countless staff members and students this year, as she has jumped at every opportunity to support in a myriad of ways. Although it is a rarity, if Tricia encounters downtime, she chooses to spend it in classrooms with our students and teachers as she strives to build relationships and make connections with others. Tricia delivers professional development when needed, helps build and implement plans for students as necessary, and demonstrates exemplary professionalism at all times. Our staff knows they can count on Tricia at all times, as she is always willing to put in extra effort to ensure our students and staff are taken care of. Tricia, speaking on behalf of myself and our entire campus, Bridges Elementary School is elated to honor you in this capacity, as you are so unbelievably deserving of this accolade. Congratulations and thank you for all you do for our students and staff. And Tricia, who did you bring tonight?
I brought my son, Alec, and my husband, Corey.
We'll stay here, right? Okay, yep, thank you. Stacy Vallada, please join me up front. Stacy serves our campus as PTO president, and let me tell you, I've never encountered a more dedicated, intelligent, creative, student and focused parent volunteer in my entire career. Stacy has absolutely poured her heart into assuring our PTO is clicking on all cylinders. I actually tell her to write a book. Like, she needs to create a manual now. It will sell, I promise you. As she supports the entire board, takes on extra duties as needed, streamlines effective communication with school administration weekly, and figures out ways to promote events by keeping the principal looking silly by allowing me to exercise my subpar acting skills while wearing ridiculous outfits. I do appreciate these opportunities, actually, but it is funny. It ensures our campus is always feeling the support of our amazing PTO. I can wholeheartedly say Stacy's impact has positively impacted everyone on the Bridges campus, students, staff, and parents included. Congratulations, Stacy, on being named Bridges' Volunteer Point of Pride this year. You're so beyond deserving of this award. Thank you so much. And Stacy, who did you bring tonight? They're watching from afar, right?
Yes, they're at swim practice tonight, but my son Giovanni and my husband Jason.
Liz Jackson, please come up. So Liz is our classified point of pride. Liz Jackson is the epitome of an exemplary HUSD employee, as she exhibits all of the traits we look for when hiring an individual. Liz serves as our campus as a paraprofessional, frequently impressing all of the students and staff she works with on a daily basis. Liz is kind, genuine, caring, intelligent, proactive, empathetic, artistic, and beyond dedicated. On top of being a stellar paraprofessional, Liz is an active member of our PTO. And if you've ever driven on our campus, she is the artist that develops all of the signs associated with our school activities. Bridges would simply not be Bridges without Liz Jackson's presence and influence. On behalf of the entire Bridges campus, we are honored to have the opportunity to celebrate Liz Jackson in this capacity.
Thank you so much.
And who did you bring with you?
My husband, Stephen, and my girls, Laurel, Caroline, and Celia.
And our Point of Pride student, Jace Robertson. Nice job, Jace. At Bridges Elementary School, we teach our students to be safe, respectful, responsible, and 21st century learners. Jace Robertson embodies all of these attributes and more. He has been selected as our student point of pride for this school year. Jace is described by his sixth grade teachers as being genuinely kind to all of his peers and teachers. Jace is willing to take academic risks and try new things, while always demonstrating a positive, can-do attitude at all times. Jace is organized, responsible, and comes to class prepared each and every day. On top of all the aforementioned attributes Jace brings to the table, he also carries a stellar sense of humor. On behalf of the Bridges staff, we could not be more proud to honor Jace in this capacity, as he is truly an incredible student with a bright future ahead. Congratulations, Jace. Nice job, Jace. And Jace, who did you bring with you?
I brought my mom, dad, and my grandparents.
Next, we have HTA, I know, out there, right? And we have... Can we advance the slide? Perfect. So here's Principal Karen Bacon and Assistant Principal Amanda Day.
Good evening, Governing Board, Superintendent Richards, Cabinet. Thank you for celebrating with us tonight. We have 4 very important people that we would like to recognize. I'd like to start first with our teacher, Rochelle Karagoyan. So Rochelle is a 4th grade teacher at Higley Traditional Academy, and she's so loving and compassionate, showing her unwavering dedication to her students each and every day. She's a collaborative and respectful team member and is always considerate of others. We are both happy and sad because we're about to lose her. She's going to be the gifted coach at Gateway Point. And she's embarking on that new opportunity, which is well-deserved, and she's going to do great things over there. She will soon... Sorry, I already said that. The positive impact that she's made on our campus and our students will forever be in our hearts. And she's also a celebrity. She was just on the Wheel of Fortune. On Marvel Night. So it was amazing. Yeah. She's still teaching, so she didn't win that big. But why don't you share with us your lovely family that you brought here tonight?
My husband, Carlo, and my children, and my parents, Mom and Dad.
Yes. All righty. Then our next point of pride is our parent volunteer, Sarah Anderson. So Sarah is a parent at our school and amazing at volunteering. She helps in our classrooms, goes on field trips, and is excited to help with any opportunity that comes her way. She's a member of our PTO, and with her time and leadership, she works tirelessly to plan events and fun activities for our students, staff, and the entire school community. She took on a really big project this year. She and her dad, who is also here, helped prepare our stage for our phenomenal drama performance. We just put on Matilda Jr. with Kathleen Richards, who's also here, another parent volunteer. Amazing, but she and her dad painted the stage, and if you've ever taken a room from stark white to black, matte black, and know how many coats of paint that takes, she was covered from head to toe. Both her and her dad were covered head to toe in black paint, but our stage looks phenomenal. So she, we can't, oh, sorry, I lost my train of thought, sorry. It looks amazing. We can't thank her enough for the hard work in supporting our school this year. She has 2 beautiful children that go to our school, so why don't you introduce who you brought with you?
Yep, Hannah and Luke. And then my parents, Mike and Dawn.
All right, I get the pleasure to introduce our classified staff for Points of Pride, Miss Kara Wheeler. So Miss Kara is what the kiddos call her. She is our health aide, fabulous health aide. She's kind, she's patient. One of her greatest strengths would be her communication. She's always reaching out to the families of every kiddo that she sees in there. But just to hear her welcoming the kids when they come in with a boo-boo or not feeling well, smiling, greeting them. A lot of them just stop by for a water and to say hello to Miss Kara. But she welcomes them, she takes care of them, she takes care of our staff, our families, communicates with them, and we cannot thank you enough for all you do. Even when it is hectic in there, she is on her game and ready to go. So we appreciate everything you do. Thank you so much. All right.
I get the.
I didn't get to introduce. This is Miss Shorting. She's one of our third grade teachers, and she's going to recognize our student.
Sorry, no, you're fine. So our third grade HTA Point of Pride student is going to be Fayaz Ahmed. So you can come on up. Fayaz is a wonderful student who exhibits all the attributes of raise each and every single day. He shows respect every day by taking care of all his materials and student responsibilities. He holds himself in very high esteem and speaks with the utmost maturity for his age. He is always accountable for his actions and schoolwork. He even goes above and beyond to help other students be accountable for theirs as well. Fayaz does the right thing even when no one is watching. One of his greatest attributes is his integrity. I once heard him say, "Let's not tell them the answer, but teach them the answer." I don't want to encourage cheating while working with other groups. He is an amazing student, a pleasure to have in class, and will go very far in the future. All right, Fayaz, who'd you bring with you today?
I brought my mom and dad to this event.
Awesome.
And I have one more. I didn't have Miss Kara introduce who she had, and she has a crew here with her tonight to celebrate.
I do. I have my daughter, Riley, my son, Caden, my husband, Eric. I have her fiance, and then my mom and dad as well.
Is this on? Yeah. We missed Administrative Professional Day. We didn't have a board meeting on that day, and so we wanted to take this moment to recognize a very special and hardworking individual that keeps this board running. And beyond the board, she keeps Lotzenheiser quiet during meetings. She keeps Sherry on track. She keeps everybody smiling and up to date and keeps all the minutes and the agendas out there. So Miss Christine Zimmerman, you make a difference in our lives, and it's not just the board, it's the community and the staff, and which also affects the students, and we're so grateful for you.
Christine does do an amazing job. You just can't imagine all the bases she covers, and she doesn't just take care of me, she takes care of cabinet on occasion too. So we appreciate her, and we're excited that she got acknowledged. So President Anderson, there are some upcoming events. Tuesday, May 14th, is our next job fair here at the district office. So we're excited to have classified in the afternoon.
Don't know.
Okay.
Just come all day.
Just come all day, morning, afternoon, and you'll get an interview if you know somebody. Next, on Monday, May 20th, we have HVA graduation. That's our Higley Virtual Academy. We also have Williamsfield High School graduation at 7 p.m. Tuesday, or that's at Williamsfield. I'm trying to combine things. Tuesday is when we have Williamsfield graduation at ASU at 2:30 in the afternoon, followed by Higley High School's graduation at ASU at 7:30. On Wednesday, May 22nd, we have HTAT graduation at the HCPA. That's at 9:45, and then nobody's looking forward to the last day of school, are you? If you don't know what day it is, it's the 22nd. So that concludes upcoming events.
Thank you, Ms. Richards, and congratulations to everyone recognized tonight. You are welcome to leave if you don't want to stick around for the remainder of the meeting. If you do, awesome. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and move into a public hearing to discuss the budget revision for fiscal year 2024 with Mr. Moore.
We ready? All right. Good evening, Board President Anderson, members of the board. Tonight I'm presenting the first revision of the FY 2024 budget. The board has seen this Arizona budget timeline several times now. We are at the May 2024 dot on the timeline. We are required to revise our budget by statute to the 100th day ADM. As you know, we adopted our budget back in June, excuse me. And so we have not revised our budget to reconcile our average daily membership, as well as several of our other accounts that are included within our total budget. As we move forward, we will look to propose our new budget, FY25, June 5th, and then adopt that same budget on June 26th, and then we proceed into December if we need a budget revision at that time. So why are we doing a school budget revision? As I said, this is required by statute. You can see the statute number right there, ARS 15-905. Basically what that says is that we are allowed to revise our budget with a notice. And so the categories in which we can revise are our M&O, our general budget limit, our capital budget, classroom site fund, and our unrestricted capital outlay fund. All those funds that I just mentioned are formula controlled by ADM. So when you revise the budget, those funds are adjusted accordingly. So I'll cover those funds here on the next slide. Looking at the maintenance and operations budget, I kind of switched it up a little bit. I spelled out where we adopted in terms of ADM. So reading this from left to right, I have budget categories. Our adopted budget, again, that we adopted in June, and then what we're revising to, what we're recommending our revised budget go to. So as we've discussed in regards to ADM, we know the district has experienced some losses in ADM. And so at this point in time, we're down 226 average, that's average daily membership. That's not a student per se. That could be, that's why you have decimals. It takes the average of the first 100 days. So 226.5683, that is the difference from what we adopted to what we're revising to. You can see how that affects the budget going down the sheet. So if you look to the revenue control limit, that actually increased, and there's a couple of reasons why. When we adopted the budget, we take into consideration estimates with our Group B weights, kind of our, we get additional funding for students who have additional needs, such as special ed, ELL, English learners, language learners, gifted, free and reduced population. And so taking in estimates in June, not knowing where our student population will end up, when reconciling that to the ADM numbers, we experienced several growths in our Group B weight, specifically with multiple disabilities, autism, and severe intellectual disabilities. So those are some of the higher weights that affected the increase in funding in the revenue control limit. Moving down to the M&O transfer to capital, this has not changed since we've adopted our budget. We still transferred $5.6 million to our capital fund. The M&O override, we reconciled that slightly. That increased about $111,000. Again, it's just reconciliation to the ADM. M&O override is funded on prior year ADM. So there were some adjustments to our ADM from last year, and which is why you see the increase there. The budget balance carry forward, again, back in June, we were taking an estimate on where we would end the year. That official number is done and finalized on the AFR, which is completed in October. So there's several months of estimating that we have to do. So I always estimate conservatively, knowing that it's a lot easier to go up than to go down. So you can see the difference there. We conservatively estimated that we would carry forward $23 million. We, in actual, carried forward $24.7 million, and you can see the difference there being just over $1 million. The additional funding, there's a Proposition 123. Again, that is adjusted based on weighted ADM and ADM numbers. So in reconciling that number, that came down slightly. And so looking all the way down the sheet to the general budget limit, you can see on the budget revision tonight that we're proposing, it's an increase of $1.3 million. Again, majority of that is related to the budget balance carry forward, as you can see, and the increase in the Group B weight students that we are receiving additional funding to support. Looking at capital, again, reading left to right, we adopted a budget. Again, this is at the same time we do the M&O budget in June. What we're revising to this evening is slightly different. On the first line, the district additional assistance, this is your formula generated amount. So this is the amount we get from the state based on our per student. So that's $7.4 million. We were just off in our estimates, so there's a small adjustment down for that. If you note on the, I didn't put it on the bottom, but district additional assistance is also funded by prior year ADM. So when you have adjustments to prior ADM, that's where you see the change there. The M&O transfer to capital, as I mentioned in the previous slide, the M&O budget transferred $5.6 million to capital, so you see that as an increase on this slide. That's an increase to the capital budget. The budget balance carry forward, much like M&O, we budget conservatively. We had a lot of summer projects that were taking place. We estimated that those would be more expensed or completed when completing the adopted budget. Those projects were still in place and still working through delays. And so we had carried over excess $2.3 million. Again, I was conservative with our estimate. And so bringing that up is a lot easier than reducing the capital budget. So the budget balance carry forward of increase of $2.3 million represents the majority of the change to the capital budget here. Interest earned, one note on the capital budget is you can accrue, you can add budget capacity with interest earnings on the capital fund only. And so you can see the interest earnings, what we anticipated was $91,000. We actually garnered $128,000. The one-time state aid supplement, this was appropriated in the K-12 budget for fiscal year 2024. Districts had the option to appropriate that to M&O or capital or how they see fit. The district appropriated that to the capital funds to use towards one-time expenses. You can see just a small difference in what we adopted to what we are revising to. So all in all, again, the majority of the difference in the capital budget is related to the budget balance carry forward increase. Again, a lot of the projects that we anticipated being completed and expensed out at the year end last year were not, and they were carried forward into this year due to delays in construction or supplies. So those were not expensed, and so therefore we're adding that money that was not expensed back into the budget capacity. Lastly, as we look towards the FY25 budget, we are still waiting on the state legislature to approve a K-12 budget. There's a lot of different issues that they're working through. The K-12 budget is not one of their priorities right now. We did get word from the Arizona Auditor General that they would approve a temporary budget forms on May 23rd if there is no state budget approved. So we will have something to bring forth on June 5th because our obligation, we must approve a proposed budget by July 5th. That does not change whether the legislature has approved a K-12 budget or not. So we will have temporary forms if the legislature has not approved a budget. And then we will go to June 26th and probably bring that same budget forth to adopt. Again, on the adoption, you can only decrease from the proposed budget. You cannot increase. So it's just a point of emphasis. Typically, there's very little change from the proposed to the adopted budget. And again, that adopted budget must be approved by July 15th, regardless of whether the legislature has approved a K-12 budget bill or not. So we will move forward with that. And in years past, we have brought forth a budget revision in early September or August when the legislature has completed their session to maybe make any changes that will be reflected in their final proposed budget. So that is an option if we were way off or if there's drastic changes in the final K-12 legislation bill. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
No, I don't have any questions, but this would be the opportunity for the public to come up, correct? So if there are any members of the public that have comments or questions regarding this fiscal year 2024 budget revision, you're welcome to come up to the podium and ask questions or make comments. Please, not all at once. Okay. Oh, yes, absolutely.
Linda Payne. I do have some questions because I think this budget, I think we could really increase our budget if we could change some things in this school that we're going to be talking about later. But we're having a lot of parents wanting to pull their kids from this school because of dress code and also literature that is being presented. And if we could work together and try to get a lot of this resolved and get it back to what we should be teaching our kids, I really think that we can bring a lot of people that would like to come back to the school district because you have a lot of programs that are amazing, but you also have a lot of things that are going on that really need to be addressed. And I think with that, if you would do that, I think I saw what happened yesterday with this volleyball thing, and there was such an output from the public, and thank you for supporting us. But it can happen also in this type of situation. That's what I have to say.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, with that, we will reconvene into open session. Are there any comments from the board at this point in time? Mr. Moore, thank you. I really appreciate the time you put into this information and how you make it easier to understand. and it's got to feel, although we live it and breathe it and you probably talk about it all day, it's got to feel good to come up here and just talk about your work and show the work you do. So I appreciate you. All right, next we're going to move on to the public comments with the request to speak. We value input from our constituents. The time on our agenda has been set aside for anyone from the audience who wishes to address the board. Those that wish to speak should have filled out a speaker card, which is due prior to the start of our meeting. Members of the board may not discuss, comment, or take action on matters raised that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01I, I believe action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for a further consideration and decision at a later date. Also, we ask that audience members practice proper public meeting decorum, refraining from either negative or positive responses, including clapping or verbal outbursts, to ensure fairness to all points of view. Those that refuse to follow these rules may be asked to leave. In accordance with policy BEDH, public participation at board meetings, if considered necessary, the governing board president shall set a time limit on length of the comment period. In order to ensure that each individual has an opportunity to address the board, the president may also set a time limit for an individual speaker. Thank you for your cooperation. First to speak will be Bob Parrish.
Good evening, President Anderson, members of the board, and cabinet. My name is Bob Parrish. I'm a retired commander from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. I have about 35 years of experience. I'm a parent, and I'm currently raising my granddaughter who attends Williamsfield High School. I wanted to warn the audience that in a few moments I'm going to be reading an excerpt out of a novel that was assigned by several English teachers as required reading for Williamsfield High School juniors. The excerpt is extremely sexually explicit, so I would ask you to leave now if you have any minor children present and do not want them to be subjected to such language. The assignment required a parent's signature but had no content warning for any of the novels. If there was a warning stating the books contain sexually explicit material, obscenities, drug and alcohol use, sexual acts, masturbation, suicide, abortion, and police racism and brutality, and those are all reviews from the internet on these 5 books, I believe parents would have exercised more caution and actually reviewed the books before signing a permission slip. Such warnings are required for movies, and we use them to gauge what we allow our kids to watch. My wife and I were suspicious. We've never had to sign a permission slip for our kids to read a book, so we took that time to actually review the 5 books. After reviewing, we noted 4 of the 5 books were banned by numerous school districts. We also took note that there were no alternative novels offered. Due to board-imposed time constraints, I'm going to read from only one of the 5 novels. The novel's titled 19 Minutes by Jodi Picoult, and I'm almost embarrassed to read it, but I'm going to do it just so people see what these kids are being asked to read. He pinned her hands over her head and ground his hips against hers. She could feel his erection hot against her stomach. It wasn't the way it normally was, but Josie had to admit that it was exciting. She couldn't remember ever feeling so heavy as if her heart was beating between her legs. She clawed at Matt's back to bring him closer. Yeah, he groaned, and he pushed her thighs apart, and then suddenly Matt was inside her, pumping so hard that she scooted backward on the carpet, burning the back of her legs. Wait, Josie said, trying to roll away from beneath him. He clamped his hand over her mouth and drove harder and harder until Josie felt him come. Semen sticking hot pulled on the carpet beneath her. I believe teaching the sexually explicit materials in violation of House Bill 2495. I spoke to Principal Fox about the assigned objectionable material prior to the consent form being due. I gave Mr. Fox an opportunity to prohibit such sexually explicit material in the classroom and told him it was his responsibility to stop it. After 2 days' review, he refused my request, stating there was good messaging in the books and that the students had a choice on what to read. I would state there are better books with the same messaging available absent objectionable content. You may even say, well, they can find it on the internet. Recent studies from 2023 conducted by the American Psychology Association and YaleMedicine.org show a decline in youth mental health. Teens can easily access inappropriate and harmful content such as sexually explicit material, suicide, and self-harm on the internet. Studies have found discussing and reading this content can normalize these deviant behaviors. Introducing this into our schools only exacerbates the moral decline of our youth. Schools should focus on the basics and keep the content appropriate. It doesn't take this type of highly objectionable material to teach our youth about the challenges that they may face in life. I want to conclude by urging the board to remove all sexually explicit material from the curriculum and align schools and district policies with state law as they relate to approving reading material. I would also ask that HUSD to modify and standardize the parental consent form requiring specific details regarding all objectionable content, providing non-objectionable alternatives, and implement these changes at all schools within the district.
Mr. Pierce, I just want to know that I'm letting him know that the time had ended, but thank you. Are you close?
If I could, I just wanted to thank you.
Okay.
Our joint goal should be focused on youth mental health, and I'm confident this board will address my concerns seriously and would like to thank you all for the opportunity to be heard.
Thank you. I appreciate your enthusiasm, but if you wouldn't mind, let me run this meeting. I would greatly appreciate that. All right, next we have And forgive me, is it Tamara Farah? I apologize if I'm saying that incorrectly. F-A, oh, thank you.
Good evening, President Anderson and board members. Thank you for your dedicated service to Higley Unified. My name is Tamara Farah, and I direct the Smart Families Network for Arizona Women of Action, representing over 20,000 parents and community members across Arizona. Our mission is to protect kids and promote academics in our schools in the state. The purpose of my address tonight pertains as well to a significant concern: the content of the 5 books recommended for a recent contemporary literature assignment, including 19 Minutes by Jodi Picoult, which was just mentioned. This assignment featured books that contain sexually explicit material, which according to ARS 15-120, parents are to be granted the opportunity to evaluate whether that content possesses serious educational or literary value for minors, and that is a quote directly from that statute. Parental notification and consent was required regarding these books, but the school only provided the title and a description that did not include the pornographic content in the permission slip that went home to parents. There is no respectable justification for a teacher to present books like this to minors for a reading assignment. Think about it. What is the impact of pornographic material on the mind and the body? What does it do to the brain? What does it do to the emotions? Let's get real. The fact that these books will stir up students sexually instead of awakening them intellectually is obvious. Pornographic material at minimum delivers a mental, emotional, and physical distraction from reading, writing, math, and higher thoughts related to critical thinking. But it's much, much worse than that, as has been alluded to already. According to Sage Journals, studies have noted that early intentional exposure to pornography use in children and adolescents can lead to delinquent behavior, high-risk sexual behavior, and substance abuse. Is that what we want for kids? Shouldn't students' minds remain healthy so they can focus on their future aspirations and proficiencies needed to succeed in their careers? As a board, will you consider removing this material from student lessons? You have the authority to do so. Let's prioritize students' intellectual and moral development. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Taylor Francis.
Good evening, Madam President and members of the board. My name is Taylor Francis, and as a dedicated parent of 2 HUSD students, I come before you today to speak on the topic of mitigating risk. In our daily lives, we consistently assess risk and take steps to minimize them. For example, if I want to boil pasta, I weigh out the risk of injury against that of feeding myself. Then, deciding that the benefit of a meal outweighs the risk of injury, I proceed with the process. However, while the risk of injury from making pasta is low, it is never zero. So to minimize the chance of injury, I employ risk mitigation techniques, such as using a hot mitt and practice safe cooking. I might even set a timer to mitigate the risk of over or undercooking my noodles. I cannot help but remember back to the October 11th board meeting, where Ray and associates and cabinet members implored you board members to act now with haste to move forward with beginning the selection process for a new superintendent immediately, despite your questions and doubts regarding the rapidity of it all. However, after being pressured, you as a board relented. The process was then rushed through the holidays, and after the less than perfect process, Nate Carman was announced as HUSD's new superintendent at the February 21st board meeting. The same Nate Carman, who appears to have been terminated from his former contract as a superintendent, has been suspended until the end of his tenure in his current district and is leaving a district facing a $33 million deficit. While Nate Carman may have the potential to excel as a superintendent here in HUSD, the uncertainty surrounding his past conduct and the financial troubles of his current district are considerable and must not be overlooked. Can we afford the risk of gambling with the future of our students and staff by entrusting such a critical position to someone with questionable credentials? I earnestly implore you, the board, to reconsider Nate Carmen's contract and explore other options to ensure the best leadership for our school's district. Please rescind or terminate Nate Carmen's contract. Our students and staff deserve a better superintendent, and you owe it to them to mitigate this risk. Similarly, at the last board meeting, you heard from two fellow members of the Citizens Committee who presented the 7-3 vote of the committee to recommend the board place an $83 million bond alongside the M&O override on the upcoming November ballot. When the survey expert presented us on the committee with the results, he indicated that with only 44% of respondents stating they would vote for both the bond and override if both were on the ballot, there was a risk that the override would fail if presented alongside the bond rather than alone. Compounded with the fact that 6 months ago, Gilbert, Mesa, and Queen Creek bonds all failed, and both of the last two Higley bonds overwhelmingly failed, is it worth the risk of putting essential school funding at stake by combining the bond with the override on the ballot? I do not discredit the merits of the items listed on the bond, nor do I think anyone else on the committee would either. To me, however, the risk is too great to place the bond on the ballot alongside the M&O override. I urge the bond to elect to mitigate the risk and vote against putting the bond on this November's ballot. Too much is at stake. As elected representatives entrusted with the well-being of our students and community, it is your duty to make decisions that minimize risks and prioritize their best interests. Therefore, I beseech you to take action to mitigate potential risks by eliminating Nate Carmen's contract and refraining from including the bond on the November 2024 ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Amber Feddick.
Good evening, Governing Board President Anderson, members of the board and cabinet. My name is Amber Feddick. I'm a teacher at Gateway Point Elementary, and I just wanted to take a moment and thank you for approving our 6th grade science camp this year. For the students who were able to go this year, they really had a truly amazing time. Some of the things that I got to witness were blossoming of the love of science and, sorry, I'm not used to coming up in front. And embracing nature and human connection instead of technology, which to their surprise they did not miss at all. And also the friendships that they began to create even though they've been in school with students in their classrooms that I hope and know that they're gonna have for going into middle school next year. I really feel lucky and very grateful that I'm one of the few people that get to take these students up and give them this experience. I have students that come back year after year and reminisce about their 6th grade, and always science camp is one of them. So I just wanted to take a minute and thank you, and I look forward to working with you guys next year.
Thank you. Next, we have Kim Jackson.
Good evening, President Anderson and board members. I had seen a message on Facebook from a parent about the Verizon cell tower being installed at Sossaman Junior High School. She learned of this at the April 3rd HUSD board meeting. This was the first time I had heard about it, so I went and watched back the meeting from April 3. Prior to the April 3rd meeting, I unfortunately have never attended or watched back a meeting, nor have I met any of you or spoken to any of you. I was super surprised to hear the cell tower topic wasn't passed through the board properly. I was also surprised it was put into the consent agenda, as there wasn't, to my knowledge, any conversation with us as parents of those students who could be affected by the tower addition. To my knowledge, there hasn't been a convo with teachers and admin about their feelings on the topic. To my knowledge, no attempts have been made to involve the homeowners or HOA management of Sossaman Estates, where the junior high school presides. They will surely be affected by the potential of this tower being installed. With all of that being said, I share my experience and thoughts with you with hopes it's not only received well, but it's used to improve communication between the board and the community of admin, teachers, parents, and students. So we can not only be informed by proposed plans that you all are going to be making, but you too can get our feedback on how we feel about these plans. I would also like to address a concern of mine. As I watched back April 3rd's meeting, I witnessed an unfortunate amount of degrading facials and different expressions from body languages from board member Wade. Being as you all are in position of power and leadership representing thousands of us, I hope you, Board Member Wade, as well as the rest of you, will be cognizant of your body language when another board member is speaking or when a community member is speaking. Kindness is taught to all ages in this district. We look to you to set the tone for meetings by setting an example of neutrality with your facial and body language. You then create a safe environment for others sharing concerns or thoughts that may vary from yours. I hope moving forward, each of you will set a positive tone with your body language and facial expressions while conducting board meetings. To close, I want to thank Board Member Van Hoek for asking for the cell tower to be pulled from the consent agenda and bringing the conversation to the community. I placed multiple calls to the district superintendent and to the director of secondary education with no calls back. But I did call Tyler Moore, and he was the only person to return my call and help answer my questions. Thank you, Tyler. I am looking forward to the town hall meeting that you all agreed to hold to chat about this topic. I'd also like to ask the board to consider utilizing social media accounts to invite the community to these meetings. I scrolled back, months back, and I have yet to find those social media accounts being utilized to communicate things like this to include your community. I would also like, based off of the complaints or concerns about the books, for the board to consider creating a committee around this topic to help give the community the opportunity to make change and participate in that change and to help support the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Callie Coons.
Good evening. I'm speaking in regards to the required reading assignment at Williamsfield High for the 11th grade kids who could potentially be as young as 15. The book that was most alarming to me was 19 minutes. My name is Callie Coons. I'm a registered nurse here in Arizona. I also have 5 kids ranging in ages from 23 down to 7. My kids have attended public schools here in Gilbert, and most recently they are enrolled in charter schools. I decided in the middle of this school year, after touring Chaparral, that we wanted to give public school system another shot, and my kids were very excited. However, when I was told about the book list, it sent me back to the drawing board of what my plans were going to be for my soon-to-be junior high and elementary school-aged kids. I want to send my kids to the public school, but these actions leave us with no other choice than to pull our kids out and send them to charter schools or homeschools. Do you wonder why the enrollment is down? A great example of this is out in Santan and Copper Basin. There are so many families choosing to leave public school system and homeschool their kids instead. Homeschooling is becoming so much more popular, but not because these parents necessarily want to. They don't trust the school systems, and they don't feel like they have any other options. I sent the book list to my daughters who are in their early 20s who also attended Williamsfield High, and they were appalled as well. It was only a few years ago that they were teenagers, so they are a great resource for opinions on what kids would benefit from and what is actually relevant for these young kids. They agreed that the material was extreme, and they were actually appalled. My daughter said, as someone who was exposed to pornography for the first time on a school bus in 8th grade and dealt with it almost every single day in my face from classmates in 9th grade at Williamsfield High School, the last place I needed more porn was in the classroom. In fact, the last place a child should feel over-sexualized or aroused is in a classroom. We tell our youth all the time not to send explicit images to one another and use scare tactics when doing so. So why are we letting books that talk about unhealthy teenage sex lives and classifying it as literature into our English classrooms? There is a time and place for children to learn about sex, and it isn't from a book about school shootings. Studies suggest that early exposure to pornography, often before age 18, can lead to distorted views of relationships and unhealthy attitudes about sex. Research indicates that adolescents who consume pornography may begin to see it as a realistic representation of sexual relationships, which can lead to unrealistic expectations and a distorted sense of what constitutes normal. There is evidence that repeated exposure to pornography can have addictive properties for some individuals. This can lead to issues such as increased anxiety, depression, low self-esteem. For example, a study found that among adolescents, regular consumption of pornography was correlated with feelings of loneliness and a higher risk of depression. Another concern is about pornography's role in shaping aggressive attitudes towards sex. Some studies suggest that exposure to certain types of explicit content, especially that which involves aggression or non-consent, which is what the excerpt in that book was, may normalize these behaviors among adolescents, leading to misunderstandings about consent and potentially increasing the likelihood of sexual aggression. We should be able to send our kids to school confidently, knowing that they have their best interests interest at heart, that the material they are being encouraged to read and study should be uplifting and thought-provoking. It should broaden their minds and stir creativity. My background as an RN includes working with adults and young adults at drug and alcohol rehabilitation facilities, behavioral health facilities, and I was the director of nursing at one of the facilities as well. I will tell you a disturbing fact: 4 out of 5 of the women in the facilities report being sexually assaulted in their childhood or teenage years. And when they would share this with me, it was always difficult for them to address. And when I would do intakes on
Ms. Coons,
patients.
your time is up. Are you almost done?
Close.
Okay, if you could go ahead and get to the
Okay.
we appreciate it. Just be consistent.
When we put these thoughts into our kids' minds, we have to remember that they're very impressionable. We as adults are also still very impressionable. We have to understand that filling their minds with these things and teaching them or trying to tell them that these are normal teenage behaviors is not normal for everyone, and that it shouldn't be expected. I would at least hope that we would, at minimum, be able to somehow rate the classes before people sign up for them, and also rate the books so that parents are a little bit more educated on what their kids are being asked to read.
Thank you. Next, we have Kelly Mullins.
Board members, I appreciate you letting me come and speak today. My name is Debbie Thatcher. Kelly Mullins had to attend another Higley activity over at elementary school. Nope, Higley High School. So she texted me her comments, and these are the things that she would like to say tonight. Thank you for all your hard work. I don't envy your position. I have 2 graduates from Williamsfield and currently have 2 high schoolers, so we've been here a while. I'd just like to quickly add my concern to a few books being shared in the schools. It's worth noting that many of the students where the books are available haven't yet reached puberty, so the themes in some of these books are too advanced for their age group. We need to ensure that the material we provide aligns with their developmental stage. Why not save these books for college, when they're adults capable of making their own decisions? Our priority should be offering educational resources that encourage learning and growth without prematurely exposing our students to adult content. It is also important to review our policies to ensure they comply with state laws regarding appropriate reading materials in schools. I'd love to see a revision to the parental consent form to give parents a clear understanding of any potential objectionable content and also provide alternatives. This approach will help us create an environment conducive to the intellectual and emotional development of our students. That's the end of Kelly Mullins. As Debbie Thatcher, I had kids here in Higley when it was a 1-school district K through 8 and 200 kids. So I've seen it change a little over the years. And I have put 5 kids through school and monitored their reading materials and things they see. I also have worked for and retired from 23 years from a neighboring school district, and have been in high school classes and have heard the discussions from books like this, not like this for sure, but books when they're being taught, they're discussed and talked about, and was appalled when I learned of the book choices that these kids are presented with no alternative choice that wasn't represented on permission slips and told explicitly to parents. I would like to see changes in how things are done, and with all the literature that is outstanding in the world, to encourage teachers to be able to present material that is correct for these students to learn. In a high school situation, I went to a principal and told them of a questionable thing going on a classroom, and changes were made immediately. And I don't see this happening here when asking if they could have another book choice to read and to participate with. And like Linda Payne said, with issues that pull people away from Higley District, it would be a shame if this is one of them and things aren't made a point of change, so that this is a high spot for the district that change can be made. Thank you very much for hearing my comments.
Thank you. Next, we have Linda Payne.
This is on the same topic, and I'm sure you guys have heard a lot about it. but I really think that we need to get this kind of stuff out of our schools. We really need to get people back into our school district instead of running them out. And this is going to run the parents out faster than anything because this filth is terrible. And I know that most teachers don't even want to teach these sexual things and obscene and pornographic things. And I don't know if they're being forced to. I don't know what the thing is, but I think you as board members, and I think every parent in here would not want their child to be read this kind of garbage that was read today. And that's what it was. It was literal garbage. And I hope and pray that we can come together as a community, because this community is all of us, and all of us together can make a difference. I mentioned the volleyball thing yesterday. There were so many people that came together to make that happen, and it was good because it should have been that way from the beginning. Anyway, I just wanted to thank you for listening to all of us, because I know that you and us together can make a difference, but we need to make a difference for our kids. These kids are our future, and if we don't stop it and stop it now, we're doomed. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Next, forgive me, is it Donovan Hanson?
Thank you. My wife and I are here tonight because it came to our attention that a literature teacher at Williamsfield High School gave pornographic material to his students to read as an assignment. This is confirmed. The principal was consulted. He made the decision to support the assignment and the teacher rather than retract it and reprimand the teacher. I pay taxes for the Higley School District. We have 3 children who reside in the Higley School District. They will never attend a Higley school unless and until we can rely on administrators to protect children from pornographic material in school. We've removed them and applied their ASA funds elsewhere for this reason. Parents should be able to rely on Higley schools to protect their children from pornographic material. As stated before, it is a violation of Arizona law to give pornographic material to a minor. It's in fact a Class 4 felony. The teacher in question here should be terminated and the principal at least reprimanded. More importantly, Higley schools should have a policy preventing students from being given pornographic material again. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to consent. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Ms. Van Hook?
Just as a direction to admin, I would like to I'm sorry, I can't see you. I would just like to further discuss what we would do in these situations, whether it's, I don't know if we have a current policy, I mean, it is state law, but if we can maybe look into a policy and look at what would happen in situations where a state law is violated, and how we would approach that, that would be wonderful.
We've already got some things going on, and we'll be happy to report back.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Van Hook. Okay, now we're going to move on to the consent agenda. I motion to approve consent agenda items 7.1 through 7.17.
Second.
That was Tiffany? Hey. Second by Tiffany. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Dr. Lindsay, do you have some introductions to make this evening?
Yes, I do, President Anderson. I have a couple of new administrators that I'd like to share with the community. First up, I would like to recognize Nicole McCullough. She's standing right over here. Nicole is our current Dean of Students at Sossaman Middle School, and next year she will be serving as Power Ranch's new assistant principal, as our current assistant principal, Michelle Cota, is going to start her well-deserved retirement. Before Nicole was at Sossaman, she was an assistant principal at Desert Wind Middle School in Maricopa District. She's been in education for more than 17 years, serving in many roles, including teacher, instructional coach, and administrator. And we're
really excited to have Nicole join the Power Ranch team, and I know she's looking forward to building relationships with the Power Ranch community and looking forward to having you work alongside them. So congratulations. Additionally, I'd also like to welcome and introduce to all of you Marcia Hofstadter. Marcia's here, she's right over there. Marcia is joining HUSD as our new Assistant Director at Cooley and Sossaman Early Childhood Development Centers, as Stacy Utley is beginning her retirement at the end of this year. Marcia comes to us with 25 years of experience in education. She has served as a special education case manager for grades K through 8 and a reading instructor on special assignment for Gilbert Public Schools and Mesa Public Schools. And currently she serves as the Network 504 coordinator for ASU Preparatory Academy, where she also served as an academic coach and an academic dean. So welcome to HUSD, Marcia. We're so excited to have you join our little Spartan and our little Cougar communities.
Thank you, congratulations, and welcome. Thank you. Dr. Lindsay. Next, we're going to move on to the information items, and next we're going to receive a report on the Higley Leadership Academy from Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Madam President. If I could ask our four presenters to come on up to the podium. I'm offering up the opportunity to present jointly with some participants from the Higley Leadership Academy tonight. So I'd like to introduce Ms. Jennifer Kaiser, Ms. Maggie Borzi, Ms. Rachel Villanueva, and Ms. Elizabeth Melter, who's coming to help present on their experiences and their insight to the Higley Leadership Academy. So, before I turn it over to them, I just wanted to give a little bit of a background on this year's Academy. We had our largest participant group ever. We had 42 participants, and we expanded it to include 5 people from the from the classified staffing division from us as well. They're going to come and share about some of the goals and experiences that they had. But another thing to highlight is this year we had this as a prior participant-led program. So we had 23 previous members come back and help plan and lead the various sessions throughout the year. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Kaiser. And if she could go ahead and introduce herself and share some information about Higley Leadership Academy.
Hello, my name's Jennifer Kaiser. I've been a district employee for 12 years. I worked in community education for 9 of those, and then recently I've switched over to Certified World. I'm the CTE Early Childhood Educator at Higley High School. So I'm thrilled to be here. This is one of my favorite programs I've been a part of while I've been at Higley. So I am here to share a little bit about the history of HLA. HLA started in 2014. It was the inaugural year. It had 2 goals. One was to help develop leadership skills in individuals ready to assume the role of a school leader in the future. And the second goal was to apply curriculum knowledge and skills within their school context to improve student learning. This kind of became known as a Principal Academy. Lots of great leaders were a part of this program through the years. It's then moved into the year 2019-20. It had to be paused for a little bit because of our season of COVID. And then it resumed back in 2020 to 22. And that was kind of a very important year because before there was always an opportunity with this program to shadow with a principal, but when this resumed in 2020, they added the mentorship component, so that was a really great piece that they put into place for HOA. And at this point, participants had kind of graduated year after year, or not graduated, I'm sorry, participated year after year because they always want to be a part of it and learn new leadership skills. But they actually graduated, official graduation was 2022. So the program has a start and an end. And then it started up again, reset this year from the 23-24 school year. where they surveyed past participants, figured out what this was really going to be about, and this was the first year that it was developed, and it was leader-led. So a little bit about my journey. I started in 2018. I was excited to be a part of it. At first, I was like, I don't want to be a principal. I just really want to gain the knowledge. I worked in community education. I said, can I just audit it? Can I just take it? I don't want to go into further administration. I just want to learn about leadership. And so I was a part of that class, participated in that year. And then when they added the mentorship component, I thought that was great, because then you're actually paired with a mentor. And because I was kind of like, who should I shadow? What should I do? And I was able to get paired with Assistant Principal Todd Berg over at Bridges, learned so much from him. And then that following year, that's when I entered the classified world. So I'm sorry, the certified world. And that was quite exciting for me, because I learned a lot from there as well. One of my favorite parts about HLA is no matter what the session is, you're always able to put more tools in your leadership tool belt. So I think that was great. I'm always able to take something away from every single session I've attended.
Thank you, Ms. Kaiser. And then I'm going to go ahead and introduce Ms. Rachel Villanueva to talk about how the Higley Leadership Academy aligns with our strategic plan.
All right, good evening, President Anderson and governing board members. Thank you for allowing us to speak today about the Higley Leadership Academy. My name is Rachel Villanueva, and I'm a proud teacher at Santan Elementary. This is my 9th year in the district. I started my student teaching journey at Santan in a 4th grade classroom with an amazing mentor named Jen Butow. Upon graduating from Arizona State University, I had the opportunity to take a position as a 5th grade teacher at Santan, where I taught for 6 years. Currently, I'm a 6th grade ELA and social studies teacher, and I've been in that position for 2 years. Not only have I had the opportunity to serve as an educator at Santan Elementary, but I also serve in a leadership position on the staff Lighthouse Action Team. In my position, I collaborate alongside a small group of educational leaders on my campus to develop the school environment and culture using the 8 habits of Stephen Covey. Within my role, I work on the Culture Action Team to promote and improve student voice on campus. I work directly with students to find ways to engage the entire student population to bring a sense of belonging and purpose. Additionally, I spent the past 2 years earning my gifted endorsement, which included 180 hours of coursework under my school gifted specialist, Shauna Stingle, and also the amazing district gifted and talented coordinator, Kelly McLean. Although there are many wonderful opportunities I've been able to participate during my educational journey, today I'll be talking specifically about HLA. To start, Higley Unified School District's mission is to empower students to be responsible citizens with the knowledge, skills, and work ethic required for success in their future endeavors. Our district follows this mission statement by directly aligning our strategic anchors to our mission statement. The Higley Leadership Academy aligns with Anchor 2, which is the highly effective personnel. The goal of this anchor is to establish a culture and climate that sustains excellence and retains high-quality employees. Anchor 2.1 reads, recruit, hire, and retain exemplary administrators, teachers, and support staff district-wide. Anchor 2.2 reads, provide the necessary professional development, resources, and training to support all employees. The HLA program had 3 specific goals to ensure these anchors were met. First one was to make sure that participants were able to get together collaboratively and come up with creative ideas. Secondly, to demonstrate integrity and empathy through global awareness and also possess knowledge and skills needed to be good community leaders. To start, as an HLA participant, we strengthen our skills of working collaboratively and communicating effectively to accomplish our HLA service project. This took an innovation, creativity, and teamwork to ensure that all HLA participants were well informed of community events and how to support these events throughout the year. We also worked collaboratively on tasks in our monthly meetings. An example of this is when we were discussing finance and budget and were tasked in teams to think like a building administrator and how to hypothetically allocate school funds. The HLA program also focused on responsible citizenship. Each month we engaged with leadership topics to support our understanding of the Higley District. Topics included marketing and branding, finance, human resource, policy and governance, and school operations. We were also encouraged to stay informed about our district by listening to or attending governing board meetings. Finally, the HLA program prepared us with the knowledge and skills needed to be successful leaders in our community. By learning about the district and participating in 2 shadow days with our mentor, we learned more about the challenges that leaders face on a regular basis and how to navigate through those difficulties to support our students. Being a participant of the HLA program has helped me develop a sense of community. I no longer just recognize the names and faces of educational leaders in my district, but I also feel a sense of belonging and connection by hearing their educational leadership journey stories. For our mentor shadow days, I was matched with a wonderful mentor, Principal Broadley at Centennial, who gladly answered all the questions I had about the roles and responsibilities of being a principal. And she gave me positive words of encouragement when discussing my own career goals and visions. Furthermore, I had the opportunity to receive support with resume and interview prep. This benefited me as I learned how to tailor my resume to future leadership positions that I apply for. Next year, I will remain in my 6th grade teaching position, but because of the HLA program, I'll be switching from role on my school's Lighthouse Action Team from culture to leadership. As a leadership action team coordinator, I will be working directly with students to prepare them for public speaking tours that we have to do with students, staffs, and visitors. And I will also develop ways to increase community awareness and volunteerism within our school. So I just want to say thank you today for letting us share with you how the Higley Leadership Academy has developed me as a leader in our school district and how to continually improve our exemplary district employees.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce Ms. Elizabeth Melter, who's going to share some statistics about our enrollments and some of the trends that we've discovered over the years with the HLA.
Good evening, President Anderson, members of the board, and cabinet. My name is Elizabeth Melter, and I've been with the Higley School District for 7 years in the capacity of 3rd grade teacher for 4 years and a 5th grade teacher for 3 years. As a leader on campus, I am the sponsor of the STEAM Club. I am a student council sponsor, and I'm also a PTO teacher liaison. I serve as an administrator designee when our admin team is off campus, and I've had the pleasure of being the administrator for the summer school program last year when it was held at Bridges. I have participated in HLA for 3 years, from 2017 to 2019, and again this year from 23 to 24. I'm going to share with you some numbers about HLA. Referencing the slide you see above, HLA has seen continued growth over the years, and this year was the largest enrollment to date. The total participants over the years have been 249 participants since the beginning. 162 of those are one-year participants, and 87 of those have participated through more than 1 year, which is where you see the 87 plus the individual of 162. Okay. Of all the participants of the Higley Leadership Academy, HUSD has retained 78% of those individuals. And of those, that 78%, 36 individuals, or 22%, have seen advancement in their positions within HUSD. Changes going from teacher to coach, sometimes coach to administrator, but lots of different trajectories for individuals who participated in the academy. And of those leaders that have seen that advancement in their careers, there have been 78% that have stayed with HUSD through the years. I want to wrap up with how HLA has been beneficial to me. It has allowed participants to develop a broader understanding of all the intricate aspects of creating and maintaining a successful district. Has allowed all of us to network and create connections within the district. All of these leaders who are able and willing to help in the development of current and future Higley leaders. It has provided opportunities for discussions and scenarios and an aim to tackle problem solving from the various perspectives of the various HUSD stakeholders. And it has also allowed us the chance to shadow Higley administrators, which has been absolutely invaluable, as it allowed for observations, discussions about topics that include maintaining positive culture, climate, student discipline, and leadership styles. A special thank you to Bruce Potts this year, who allowed me to shadow him and ask all the questions that I had. And finally, I would like to share that I do truly believe that HLA has been absolutely instrumental in helping me prepare for my new role that I take on next year as assistant principal at Bridges Elementary alongside fellow HLA graduate Jeff Beckel.
Thank you. And then I'd like to also introduce Ms. Maggie Borzi. She's going to talk about our leadership project that we implemented into the program this year.
Good evening. My name is Maggie Borzi. This is my 6th year as a secondary English language arts instructional coach. I work with all the 6th through 12th grade English teachers by providing professional learning during scheduled PD days and upon administration request, mentor new teachers, and provide support in curriculum instruction and assessment data analysis. As an aspiring HUSD administrator, what better way to gain leadership experience than in my home district and to learn from our own district and school leaders? HLA provided us the opportunity to learn the ins and outs of what makes a school district efficient and successful, from understanding the complexities of finance to maintenance and operations. One of my favorite parts of HLA was the opportunity to shadow school leaders for a day. I would like to extend a quick thank you to Brian Bannock, the assistant principal at Higley High School, and Terry Pepper, the assistant principal at Chaparral Elementary, for showing me all the intricacies of administration. The HLA Community Service Project was originally designed as a service project for the entire group to create. HLA member Karen Files took initiative to create a Microsoft Teams group for us to share our ideas and post discussions. It was then decided that members would vote on their favorite project, and the top 3 projects would be presented to district leadership. Jessica D'Ambrosio's idea was for us to provide support at a senior living community with visits from not only us, but with students. Shannon Alexander had a great idea of having a day of mini projects like campus cleanups and clothing drives. I presented on a Higley Beautification Day, where we would divide and conquer to the various schools and beautify them. To support our Higley Helps initiative, a merging of ideas occurred. I became the contact person for schools to reach out and solicit help from HLA members to support various school projects. For example, a group of Academy members volunteered at Higley High School for their Best Buddies Carnival, an event that made statewide news. One member, Leslie Cook, took the initiative to be an extra chaperone at a middle school dance. Power Ranch hosted a book drive at their literacy night. HTA Academy members held donation drives for the House of Refuge and the Military Assistance Mission with their staff. Members volunteered at the Fine Arts Festival. And this past Saturday, a group of us supported Santan Elementary at their Family Hearing Impairment Picnic for the community. If it wasn't for HLA, I personally would not have known about all these amazing events, except for the Fine Arts Festival. The HLA Community Service Project allowed us to be reflective of our core values, to take initiative, to collaborate as a team, and overall to learn what all our schools have to offer. I plan to use the knowledge and skills acquired and apply them to my position as instructional coach and continue in HLA next year. Thank you.
Thank you for that information. And just to conclude where we're headed with the HLA moving forward, is it has really 3 foundations that we've decided to work with in the future. And the big one is it's going to be focused on staff development. So what was said before, it initiated as a principal preparation academy. We find much more value in the opportunity to develop leadership capacity amongst all of our employees. Whether you're in a custodial department or you're at the district office or if you're in IT, it doesn't matter. We want to build capacity across our school district. And so that aligns with the strategic plan. We want to have an opportunity for all employees. And so we want to grow leaders in all of our divisions, and we want to promote this across the board. So it's been in existence since 2014. This is the first time that I can recall we've brought it to the governing board and had a presentation about it to share with the public. I've had the good fortune of being part of the program every year since its inception. I began as a teacher, and I have the good fortune again to come back and lead the program. So it means a lot to me. I've seen a lot of great success connected to the program, and we want to continue to keep aligning it with the needs of our district. We want it to be a self-sustainable program, so one thing I just want to commend everybody for, everybody's here tonight on their own accord. These individuals, these 42 people that have participated, go above and beyond their workday and come back in the evening to take part in this. And so they've reached out, they want to be part of this, they participated in projects outside of their already busy schedules. And commend everybody for taking the time to learn more about our school district and to build their leadership capacity. And we want that to continue. We wanted the planning and development to be done by the past participants. And we look forward to having data-driven decisions to improve the program moving forward. So a new component of it this year is we surveyed the group after every single session rather than wait till the end of the year to get survey feedback. This way it's fresh, it's accurate, and it's pertinent to the time of the session. And we're going to take that information to better our sessions, and that will be led by past participants moving forward. So in the future, one of the things also referenced earlier in the presentation is that for several years it became stale. It was a great opportunity. It grew leaders, but it was really focused on that principal preparation, and people felt obligated to continue to be part of it. And there really was no out, so to speak. And so we created the ability to graduate out of the program, but we don't want people to then be done completely. So there's opportunities to come back as a mentor, to help with the community project, and then to assist our candidates with resume and interview review sessions. And so it's something that I want to give credit to school district leaders who have taken time out of their busy days as well to help support the program. And I appreciate it again. Thank you for you ladies tonight for presenting it from your perspective. These are 4 individuals who have different positions within the school district, but they've all shared some valuable takeaways from the program. So thank you everybody tonight for sharing out and being here. And I'll turn it back over to the board if you have any questions.
Board Member Anderson, Mr. Walker, I just wanted to ask, so membership, I'm assuming it's optional, anybody can join or not join?
It's evolved into that. It's open for anybody. We do ask that they consult with their supervisor to make sure it's a good fit. In the past, it had more stricter criteria. That's what goes back to the Principal Preparation Academy. There was the request to have a master's degree or in a program for ed leadership. And we've eliminated that because we want it to be available to everybody within our school district.
And are there dues or is it free?
No, it's free. There's no dues.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good questions. Outstanding, outstanding. I'm so excited. It's good to hear that there are teachers or staff that want to move up into leadership positions. But I was floored by tonight saying I just wanted to be a better leader. Like, that's fantastic. Thank you, ladies, for sharing. Thank you for everybody attending tonight. I do have one question. Is this something? Can the board watch this in action? Can we be invited to any of the events or meetings or anything just to see you guys at work?
Board Member Anderson, absolutely. That's a part of that data-driven decision-making. We'll take that into consideration as we plan our sessions for next year, absolutely.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Moving on to item 8.2, the Special Education Private Day School Report for fiscal year 24, third quarter. We will be hearing from Mr. Moore. I'm so sorry.
Yep. President Anderson, members of the board, presented is the third quarter report from Ms. Miller. The expenditures are trending below the approved budget that was approved at the beginning of the year, so no further comments.
No, under budget sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moore. Next, we're going to move on to the action items, beginning with 9.1, second read for policy JKD, student suspension. Are there any questions or comments before we motion? Okay, I motion that the governing board approve policy JKD, student suspension. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 4-0. Moving on to 9.2, second read for policy EBC, emergencies. Do we have any questions or discussion? I motion that the governing board approve policy EBC, emergencies.
Second.
Is that Tiffany? Yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Moving on to 9.3, second read, JKE, expulsion of students. Questions or statements? I motion that the governing board approve policy JKE, expulsion of students.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. 9.4, second read of policy JLH, missing students. Any questions, comments?
President Anderson, I will just express, just in case there are some people, all of these are just updating legal from the state legislature that we had to include in our policy. That's why probably we're not making comments. For those who were not here previously.
Yes, thank you. Do I motion that the governing board approve policy JLH, missing students?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
We're on 9.5, correct?
We are 9-4.
9.4, sorry. Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Oh, gotcha. Okay, 9.5. Approval to adopt a resolution calling for a special maintenance and operation budget override election. Questions and comments?
President Anderson. As I said at the last meeting, we do have 7 schools that are under 60% capacity. It's easy to go out to the community and say, we want more money. It's always easy to spend other people's money. But we need to look at all the options that we have. And our enrollment is down. The funding from the state is, some people might not like where it is, but it's the highest it's ever been. And yet our expenses continue to grow. We need to look at all the options available to us before we go out and ask the community for more money. So, did you call for a vote? No. Not yet. Okay. But that's my statement. We want to be fiscally conservative, and I know Mr. Moore does a great job as far as budgeting conservatively, but we need to look within before we do that, especially in the current financial climate that we're in. Thank you.
President Anderson, I would like to express again gratitude to the members of the committee that came together to discuss what was in our district's best interest. They were presented with, the status of our buildings. I think for a lot of individuals who only drop off their kids or drive by, they don't necessarily always go inside and see some of the status of the way things are. I also wish to express gratitude and further elaborate with respect to Mr. Moore. I feel like the nature with which you present our budget and how you talk to the community and how you express what it is that we need going forward and what is in our best interest has routinely served this district well over the course of your tenure here. And I am very appreciative to all that you have done for that. And I think as we go forward and looking at the things that we can do to improve and continue to make Higley a competitive district that people wish to go to. And I recognize that there is enrollment at elementary schools that has some difficulty. There are state things at play there for some of that, but we continue to see them come back in middle school and high school. And so looking for what that long term is, as well as the general growth in our area, I'm very appreciative to the time that you have done with the community, the committee members that gave up their time to do that. I'm also very appreciative for what you put forward and how you not only presented that to the board, but to Higley as a whole. And it is greatly appreciated. Thanks.
Thank you. I motion that the governing board consider, discuss, amend if desired, and if deemed advisable, to adopt a resolution ordering and calling a special budget override election to be held in and for the district and declaring the deadline for submitting arguments for and against the election to the Maricopa County School Superintendent, School Elections Office as of August 9th, 2024 at 5 p.m. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 3-1. Item 9.6, approval to adopt a resolution calling for a special bond election on November 5th, 2024. Any questions or comments? No, go for it.
I recognize that there's always a difficulty as a district to ask the community, to go for these things, to vote on them. And we have seen in other districts them not be successful. We've also seen it in our own district when these things are not successful. As somebody who worked here during that time frame, as somebody who neighbors Mesa as they are going through some of the difficulty, I think things sometimes are beneficial to keep in mind what happens when these things don't pass, and that is class sizes and the like. For example, Mesa, which is one of our largest districts, had to let go 400 staff. That means there are electives that don't get done, there are larger class sizes, there are clubs that get cut, there are things that you feel, and I recognize and understand that it is difficult sometimes to ask the community to, step up in ways that they feel are already stepping up. And I understand that the nature of our state structure makes that very, very difficult. And so I'm appreciative of the weight of that. I just think it is beneficial for us as we move forward and progress to look at the things that we hope to do with these bonds, specifically, making expansion to areas that we have. Right now, we've already had in past board meetings where we have to look at alternative parking options for some of our high school students because we are running out of space. The bond addresses some of these needs that we have. And so I recognize that when outwardly we look at, student retention and how these things are, some of that also comes down to the things that we have a failure to provide. And part of the reason we have to, tighten that belt is when these types of things do not happen. And so as we go forward as a community, I would advise community members to look at what happens to districts when these things don't end well, when they don't go through or they don't pass, because what you see routinely is just a year or two later, they turn around and then pass them because they have to make up for the hardship that they experienced during that time frame. And so I appreciate, again, the community and the work that people put forth in their recommendations to try to avoid having to go back up and try to make for some of the hardships as a result.
President Anderson, Board Member Wade, I also want to throw in there, you brought up Mesa, and we also have to consider the amount of students that Mesa lost as well that made an impact in that. That's all.
This one made me think a little bit, a couple of issues or a couple of things that I toggled with mentally and emotionally. I attended a few of the committee meetings, and there was concern about putting both on the ballot. And they were concerned you put both on the ballot, there's risk that both won't pass instead of having one pass over the other. So that one made me think. I believe in a democratic voice. I believe putting it out to the voters and let them speak and let them vote for what they want in this district. But now I go back to the other side. What I witnessed in sitting in the last meeting put a lot of fear in me about the people that are for it and those that are against it, because it got very, very heated. And I don't want behavior like that out in the district, swaying people or making people fearful or feeling like they can't express their opinion, because that reflects our district and that will hinder the vote as well. And those are my viewpoints on that. Okay. I motion that the governing board consider, discuss, amend if desired, and if deemed advisable, to adopt a resolution ordering and calling for a special bond election to be held in and for the district, and authorizing the chief financial officer to comply with certain sections of the Internal Revenue Code.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 3-1.
President Anderson?
Yes.
I just want to say that you all made good points, and it is hard to ask for money, but we asked a committee to come together, and that committee gave us a recommendation for both of the override and the bond, and so that's why I voted yes tonight, because the committee spent weeks on this, and they came together and voted, and also Mr. Moore presented that we can't look within anymore. We only have so long that we can look within and what we can cut. And I want our kids to have the best, and our teachers, and I want to have the best leaders, and that's the most important. And I don't want to have aging schools in our neighborhoods, and I don't think anybody else does, and we want our kids to have a great future. So that's why I voted yes on both of those.
Thank you. Next is 9.7. Request for proposal number 24-03-29, Child Nutrition Food Services Management Company, FSMC.
President Anderson, members of the board, I just wanted to give a little context to this because it is just an action item, but the district is up for renewal. We had a 5-year RFP, request for proposal for contracted food services. The district went through a full RFP process, considered on the agenda item, you can see the members that it consisted of, several site leaders, myself, and other individuals. The committee received 2 proposals, and the reason we're just bringing an action recommendation because the committee, the evaluation team found it unanimous to recommend Chartwell's as the option for this RFP. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but that is the recommendation from the evaluation committee.
President Anderson, sorry, Mr. Moore, can you correct me just because there's been a lot of information in the last week since we got this. I just want to make sure the Chartwell's one, that's the one, is that the with or without the high school? The one that you're recommending?
I apologize. President Anderson, Member Wade, the committee did include in the request for proposal the option to look at continuing to keep the high schools on the National School Lunch and Breakfast Program or take them off. Some of the items that we looked at before submitting this bid out for proposal were looking at our demographics, and the National School Lunch and Breakfast Program inherently benefits students who have low social economical status. And so with our district being about 21% free and reduced percentage, we were looking at options to help provide our families with different avenues in which to offer food. And so this proposal that recommendation we're bringing tonight does not includes leaving them on the program as of now. But because it was included in the bid, we do have the future option to go forth and bring them off the program if we see fit. So obviously we would bring that back to the board, but this next year is with them on the program as is, as we are currently offering.
Does that opportunity to decide or reevaluate, that's during the 5-year period that we have with this, with them? Okay, I just want to make sure. Thank you.
I motion that the governing board award RFP number 24-03-29 to Compass Group or Chartwell's as the food service management company for fiscal year 2024-2025.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0.
President Anderson, they are in attendance, so maybe I'll embarrass them if they would ask them to stand since they've sat through this meeting. If Chartwell's can stand, please, be acknowledged. So. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for helping me carry stuff in when I was coming to the board meeting.
President Anderson, I would just like to add that every event that we've had, the food has been amazing, so I just want to thank you guys. You've done an amazing job, And all of it, literally, like I tried to have a little bit of everything just to taste it, and it's been great. Thank you.
Thank you for mentioning that. It's 100% true. Are we good? Just kidding. 9.8, approval of the fiscal year 2024 budget revision number 1. Any questions or comments? I motion that the governing board approve the revised expenditure budget number 1 for fiscal year 2023-2024 as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Moving on to action item 9.9, ratifying payroll and expense vouchers 1087, 1090, 1091, and 1093. Questions or comments?
I will address, I have 3 items that I had asked to be polled, so I'll address all of them in a row. The first one I had asked to be polled is the American School Counselors Association. And I'll just read what I wrote. We are investing taxpayer funds into training, and the people attending this is school counselors and the assistant director of counseling. We are investing taxpayer funds in training for staff members who are legally restricted from providing mental health services to our students, as they lack the required licenses by the Board of Behavioral Health. This practice without a license is a Class 6 felony. Aside from that, the American Counselors Association's policy mandates counselors to affirm a child's gender dysphoria without parental consent or awareness, and prioritizing the emotions of boys identifying as girls over the rights and safety of actual girls. These practices not only violate legal and ethical boundaries, but also disregard the important role of parents in their child's well-being and development. The content of ASCA's training material, I've watched several, revealed concerning ideologies and strategies, including decisions on topics like oppressed and privileged, dismantling white people, endless pronoun variations, stonewalling parents, concealing transgender issues, critical race theory, circumventing state laws. This focus on divisive and controversial subjects, along with tactics that undermine parental rights and student confidentiality, is deeply troubling. A recent conference hosted by the Arizona School Counselors Association, featuring Dr. Carolyn Stone, you can look her up, who chairs the ASCA Ethics Committee, openly advocated for providing contraceptives to a minor against her mother's wishes, showcasing a disregard for parental authority and ethical boundaries. Given these concerns about legal compliance, ethical standards, lack of parental involvement, and the promotion of controversial ideologies, I oppose further funding or support for organizations like ASCA that exhibit such problematic practices within their training and policies. Thank you. Actually, I'll just go into the next one because it's all in one vote. So we're on 9.9.
No, I'm sorry. Which voucher are you referencing?
I don't have the voucher number.
But I'm just going to ask you, if you could go back, you were referencing what in the voucher then? I'm sorry.
The American School Counselors Association. Oh, I'm sorry. It's voucher 1091.
American School Counselors Association?
Yes, these are.
Thank you. Okay, I got it. Thank you.
The next one is the Arizona mathematics leaders, and mind you, these are expenses. This has already happened. So this is just the expense, and I wish I would have caught it initially. But as far as the Arizona Mathematics Leaders Conference, the reason why I oppose this is because of the association with the book that was given, Building Thinking Classrooms in Mathematics, and its association with Corwin Publishing. I don't have a copy of the book, but I am aware that Corwin promotes controversial and divisive ideologies through their material. Corwin is known for pushing a racist critical theory math textbook that aims to dismantle what they perceive as white privilege. This philosophy, which emphasizes developing racial competency in white students, is viewed by many as promoting a biased and discriminatory approach under the guise of equity. Furthermore, one of Corwin's publishing co-founders of the Youth Equity Stewardship Program, Wade Sandoval, provided a testimonial for White Privilege Conference. This connection raises concerns about the underlying agenda and values promoted by this publishing company that this conference uses, or the book that they use for the conference. Indirectly, they endorse and legitimize these ideologies and practices. There is a need for educational resources and initiatives that promote genuine critical thinking skills without divisive and discriminatory narratives. And I would hope that we utilize those options versus organizations that use companies to push such awful ideologies and divide our youth that is absolutely unnecessary. The last one is, and that one had a couple vouchers, 1087 and 1091 and 1093. The last one is Nearpod. I mentioned this back at our May 10th meeting of 2023, and I just want to bring it up again in case people weren't paying attention then. But Nearpod has a lot of controversial ideologies as well. It's an application that's used by students. Last May, I made it clear that I cannot support Nearpod due to these ideologies. And I understand that it's assigned by teachers and not chosen by students. However, despite this, I had a parent that contacted me last year concerning an assignment that was given to their child centered around race. If we're going to continue to use Nearpods, I would like to request that we do what we did with Pebble Go and go in and be able to block those modules that don't align with our state standards, if that's possible. And I want to encourage parents that they need to be vigilant, even though it's an online assignment, an online application that's school approved, parents still need to pay attention. Because, just because it's used by schools does not guarantee its safety or appropriateness, as we've witnessed tonight. It's essential for parents to monitor and review the content their children are exposed to through all of these platforms. I also want to remind parents that you do have the ability to opt out of these applications and any curriculum that you don't see fit for your children. That's all. Thank you.
So Vice President Van Hook and members of the board, it's my understanding we don't have the capability to block components within Nearpod. So we have looked at that. So we are relying on our teachers and their teaching of the standards, but I wanted you to know we checked.
And so with Nearpod, as I asked with Pebble Go. With Nearpod, kids do have the ability to go in and play around with the app, or they can just access.
The teachers are assigning components within Nearpod, so they can't just wander around in there.
Okay. And so because of this one assignment I know that was addressed last year, we've had conversations with teachers that they need to ensure that when they are assigning, that they are staying within standards.
Yes.
Thank you.
That is correct.
President Anderson, some things I wish to address that Board Member Van Hook talked about, and there's a few things. I'll just kind of go in reverse order. I agree with you that I think parents should pay attention to the things that their kids are seeking or how they, have access to stuff. For example, we have access to the internet in school and those types of things, and we do the best that we can, obviously, while we are here at school. But once they leave our classrooms and go beyond those assignments, it's really difficult for us to curb free will. And so I appreciate all of the things that our staff do routinely to notify parents of this is how you log in, this is what I've specifically assigned to the students and those types of things, because as long as you are going through what your teacher assigns in that process, then that's kind of where we keep everything grade level appropriate, because Nearpod is for all of education and it is used throughout the United States, so there are differing areas that have different requirements. And so I think that is a very beneficial thing to express to parents, to just keep a reminder of, what goes on at home and how your kids are using some of the devices that they are there for. The second thing I'd like to express or address rather is the AZ math leaders. A lot of the issues that you brought up is with a publishing company. A publishing company is going to publish books, and they would have a varying level of content. So I think it is important to keep in mind that we are sending our math teachers to go to a conference specifically about math. We don't have control over the materials that they give. We, as a district and as a state, have a curriculum that is assigned to us, and within our district, we have control over what our curriculum is. And so they may be exposed to a book that might have something that is not valuable for our specific curriculum, and then we just ignore it and move on with our lives. But to express that because they are giving out a book that is dealing with a publishing company that also deals with some of these other things, I think that's a pretty slippery slope for us to be concerned about, because again, we can't control the nature of a company operating in a capitalist market and making multiple types of books. Beyond that, this, again, serves multiple districts, and so some of the content may not be valuable for our specific district, but it might be valuable for districts that have demographics that look different from ours. So again, we are offering something as a state, and as a state, you have math teachers from all over the state that come to be able to do this, and I would argue you probably have some people from other states that also can come and get some of that. So I think it's important, again, to keep in mind for those who might have concerns on some of the things that you've addressed here today, that again, we have a curriculum that our teachers are beholden to and how that process is. And so just because they may have exposure to some of these things at differing trainings that they get doesn't necessarily mean that that's what comes back here in our classrooms, because again, we're still beholden to that curriculum. The final thing I wish to address is the counseling. First off, counselors are not therapists, but sometimes kids come in expressing pretty heavy stuff that requires us to contact social services, stuff that requires us to make sure that we provide for parents what this student may need going forward. So for example, I've had several students that I had inquired, how are you doing today, because things didn't look like they normally did, and come to find out this kid was suicidal, had a plan. Our first responsibility legally as a teacher is to contact counseling and have counseling go forward and contact and take the steps from there. That requires conversation, that requires some of these things, but asking about that or inquiring about that is not therapy. Beyond that, some of the topics, again, that you addressed, this is a national association. So again, we're going to deal with differing states, differing issues, and states have different beliefs with respect to some of these topics and how they address them. Our teachers here at our district are held accountable to the laws of the state, whether we agree with them or not. That is the situation that we are in. And they are also, again, held accountable to our standards. The same is true for our counseling staff that we hire. There were periods of time in which we had counselors that were shared amongst campuses, and I think families and students alike felt the pressure of that. So I'm very grateful that we have been able to hire more counselors so our staff has these needs. We've had over and over again parents come in during comment. We've even mentioned it up here. Kids today are experiencing a lot, and there's a lot of things coming at them. So having counselors on campus to hear and receive some of this information and then take the next steps of providing what is best for this specific situation is not therapy. It might get them to therapy and it might lead them to that, and I believe all persons can benefit from therapy, so I think that's a positive here. But I also think it's important for us as we listen and receive some of this information that a counselor providing next steps to parents, because they also don't do it without parent involvement when it comes to this information. We are beholden to that. We have to. So for example, if a kid's suicidal or if a kid talks about some of these things, we provide that information with parents. We often create meetings with the teacher who notified the counselor and the parents and the student themselves, or sometimes separate from the student, and then bring the student in, depending on what that situation calls for. And it's associations like this, and it is the material that they provide that help guide our counselors in these difficult situations. So I'm very grateful that we have managed to create more counseling opportunities for our schools, so schools can have these instead of sharing, because sometimes that can lead to things that are real hard because a student may feel like they don't have anywhere to go.
President Anderson, I understand what you're saying, but we also have state laws that need to be followed. And because of the recent change in the Board of Behavioral Health, they had a rule where they weren't monitoring school counselors, and they were petitioned, and they ended up withdrawing that rule, which it specifically says like no psychotherapy, and when you look up psychotherapy, it lists all these things that are considered psychotherapy. And in my mind, a parent should be contacted before a counselor, unless the parent is the problem and CPS needs to be called. A parent needs to be contacted before there's any type of intervention. But the purpose of me pulling this is to explain why I don't support them. We also have a state law that says we can't use taxpayer funds to pay for any race-based training, and whether it's a book. I mean, the book is part of the course for the math thing. So if we're using taxpayer funds to fund organizations that do race-based training and ideological training, we have a state law that says we can't. And yes, our district has created an agreement that they have teachers sign, that they won't attend. You know, if there's several breakout sessions, the teacher signs a form saying, I won't attend this portion of the training that's, you know, based on DEI or whatever. Bottom line is we're still funding it with taxpayer money when state law says we shouldn't. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to explain why I don't support these expenses. Thank you.
I apologize, President Anderson. This will be my last thing. For those who may not be in a classroom situation or work with students, there is not always an opportunity that is in the safety of that student's mind for us to be able to contact the parent first before we talk to that student. There are literally a plethora of things in which a student could express that is harm to them, harm to somebody else, not necessarily harm from a parent. Obviously, in those cases, we still have things that we have to follow with DPS and all of that. I hear your concerns, and again, I think it's important to understand that counselors do not proceed without parent involvement, especially in every avenue that they are legally required. To my knowledge, there have not been any instances of our counselors flat out breaking the law in these specific scenarios. And as far as being a member of an association that might do DEI training, it doesn't necessarily mean that this specific thing is DEI training. So I think keeping in mind the fact that, again, we have responsible individuals who are great at their job and are capable of recognizing what is and is not content appropriate and what is and is not within the scope of law that we are required to, is one of the reasons why we have such great programs and student outcomes here in Higley.
Last comment, President Anderson. I'm sure the parents whose children were assigned these inappropriate books thought that the specific teacher was great at his job and wouldn't violate state law, yet it happened. So it does happen, unfortunately, and which is why I'm bringing it up, and I want parents to be aware. And we need to ensure that our staff, there's clear communication that these are the lines, you can't cross it, and if you cross it, this is what happens. That's all.
Ms. Richards, was there anything you wanted to add or state regarding any of the information? Or
I think that Mary Davis, our director of PD, looked into the thinking maps training and what resources they used. I don't know if you want to make a comment on that in terms of that potential book or book study.
This conference is actually organized by the Arizona Department of Education and managed by them, so it is supported by our Department of Education. This is an instructional model that a lot of our teachers are utilizing and have found great success for our students to get them up and moving as they are interacting not only with math, but other content areas to get them not just solving a problem, but thinking through the problem and talking about the math practice and how they can solve it in multiple ways and have that conversation and talk about the learning and not just rote memorize how to solve. And it allows the teacher to go through and engage with the students on the various different ways that they are solving it and have those conversations so it's not just a one and done and move on. So we're excited for our teachers to be able to go and interact with other teachers across Arizona on this topic.
President Anderson, and I'm sorry, I didn't catch your, Davis? Ms. Davis, did you attend the training?
Yes, I have attended.
And would you say that there was anything ideological during the training that you would find concerning?
Not at all. It's all about how do you take a problem, I'll stick with math, and how do you talk through it through different solutions. I'm working on saying I'm not a math person because I am a math person, and taking a risk, and you don't have to actually take a risk. You can solve it in 25 different ways, and how would you cut a square cake so that everybody gets an equal slice when you have an odd number of people? And everybody can take a different approach to how you would solve it, and there's nothing ideological about it. It's giving students a chance to approach how they're going to learn, how they're going to share their learning. And it's giving the teachers a different way to mix up their students and how they will interact with the learning as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, recently you hear people say, you know, math is racist. So I don't know how that could be, but so I just want to make sure that when we have these types of trainings that there's no teachings that, I mean, that would cover the fact like math is race. I don't even know how to explain it. But I appreciate your input. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your questions and information and input on this. We are on item 9.9, correct? Okay. I motion that the governing board ratifies the payroll and expense vouchers for 1087, 1090, 1091, and 1093.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 3-1. Moving on to 9.10, employment agreement between the Higley Unified School District and Dr. Carmen. I'd like to read a statement from the governing board. During the superintendent hiring process that we recently went through, applicants were asked to provide true, correct, and complete applications, including disclosing ongoing reviews of possible misconduct. They were specifically asked to explain any current or past situations that might impact their application. The candidates were notified that misrepresenting or omitting facts could result in rejection of or dismissal from employment. Dr. Carmen failed to disclose material facts during the hiring process. The search firm we used also failed to bring these facts to our attention. Had Dr. Carmen provided us with correct and complete information, we would have made a different decision, and in our view, his actions constitute just cause to rescind the employment agreement. And it's now open for discussion, questions, comments. Okay, I motion that we rescind the employment agreement between Higley Unified School District and Dr. Carmen for just cause effective June 30th, 2024, and authorize legal counsel to provide notice to Dr. Carmen.
Second.
I'm gonna give that one to Anna. I just heard her. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Okay, thank you. Moving on to 9.11, selection of the superintendent for the 2024-2025 school year. Open this up for discussion.
What do you want to read? Do you want to read hers? Yeah, I think that's better.
Oh, who?
Make the statement.
Yes, gotcha.
That would be, I mean, I didn't want to steal it from you.
It's all right. I motion that the governing board select, just kidding, Sherry Richards as the superintendent for 2024-2025 and enter contract negotiations with the selected candidate.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Ms. Richards, and congratulations on moving into our superintendent, not interim superintendent position for the next week.
Thank you.
President Anderson, I just want to say again, thank you, Ms. Richards, for all you have done over the course of the last year. I said this last year, we didn't really give you much of an option, and I appreciate your willingness to take this option with us. Your love for Higley clearly knows no bounds, and we are very grateful for another year with you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I just want to echo the comments. I know you attended the retirement ceremony and already had your beach vacation picked out and everything, but we can get you some beach music playing in your your office. Thank you very much.
All right. Moving on to item 10.1, items for future agenda. I would like to put on there, I meant to look, and yes, put back on there our communication protocols, because we had a lot of things kind of tabled, and we were expecting a different superintendent, and then also our board meeting dates and times needs to be put on ASAP.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Anyone else have any items to add?
Not currently.
Not
No.
currently. Yep.
No, I just want to say congratulations to the class of 2024, since we will, this is our last meeting, and good luck to them.
See you guys at graduation. All right, I motion that we adjourn this meeting. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 4-0. Good night, everyone. Thank you for attending.